What we're trying to do is reach out to the whole island, to all residents. We've spent a lot of time and put a lot of effort into producing these proposals, and what we'd like to do now is share them in detail with all residents of the island. To do that, we've set up a number of events around the island. We've also, at those events, we've arranged for specialists to come in so we can predict the sort of things residents might be interested in. And we want to be able to answer the questions there and then. So we've got a group of people that we think can answer most questions there and then. We don't want to hide anything, so we've got display boards which show the journey on how we've got here, why we're doing this. And more than that, we really don't want to hide anything at all. We've got a real immersive experience through a virtual reality 360 headset arrangement, so people can see up close how it will appear.
Now, there's a bit of an elephant in the room, really, which is the cost element, which it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
And the government have already coming in over budget like this early on.
Yeah.
And now they're attempting to save £10 million across departments, and health services are being shelved. Yeah. How does MU intend to validate the cost of the wind farm, and actually what is the projected total cost?
Okay, so it's a great point. And there's no funding in place at the moment. So we're at the development phase of the project. So what that entails is looking at all the costs, all the risks, and putting certainty into them so we can firm up that price so that when we do apply for funding, we've got a good degree of confidence in that cost. Of course, there will always be unknowns, and we need to be really clear about what those residual risks are, quantify them as best as we can, and put suitable contingencies in. So there's no funding in place at the moment. If you look at the economics, they look really good for this particular project. And a good comparator would be last month in the UK. They do what they call an auction round 6. So all the renewable technologies compete and bid into a system. And if you look at the costs of onshore wind farms, they are cheaper than traditional fossil fuel based power production systems. So we're firming up the cost. There is good margin in there. I think, where we often get criticised on the Isle of Man for being small, so we don't have the economies of scale. But I believe if we find the right site and get the right wind yield, we can punch well above our weight. And so there's a role for other technologies as well, like solar, but the Isle of Man is quite a windy place, so there's good resource here.
And how much are we talking at the minute? There must be a ballpark figure.
So I think we've been kind of forced into, what's the cost, we tried to explain. We're at the development phase, we're looking at a lot of things. We haven't got a preferred manufacturer. There's a lot of unknowns in there. I think when we produced internal papers with estimates through the Freedom of Information, and we put this stuff openly on our website anyway, I think, we were looking at I think close to about 40 million, 35, 40 million. But there's still risk in there. That could come out or it could go up. And we need to really firm those costs up over the coming months.
And to date, how much has been spent on the project?
So all we've done to date is the work on the environmental impact assessment, which I think spend to date is currently around, I'd need to check, but I think it's 1.6 million, something like that.
And will the turbines now genuinely give people cheaper electricity, or is this just sort of a tick for political agendas?
So, as I say, I think the energy economics look really good. And I think it stands every chance of keeping a firm cap on electricity prices and perhaps reducing them. I suppose the example to give you, let's say it costs 35, 40 million. To put that into context, we're forecasting to spend on energy, predominantly gas, just to fuel the power stations this year, around 35 million. So if you reduce a quarter of your energy from you reduce the cost quite a bit there. And if you get the so it's quite a good payback. If you get the funding arrangements and the cost model right, it stands every chance of keeping our customers' prices as low as possible.
Now, I'm pretty sure you guys in the press release said the wind farm was projected to generate about a quarter of the island's electricity.
Could do more.
Yeah. So with that said and done, why is this whole wind farm really a job for the government person MUA and not something that we're going to pop out to the private sector to come in instead of draining a purse that's already pretty drained?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. We're obliged to produce or buy the cheapest electricity we can for our customers. That's kind of a duty that's set out in legislation. And we are talking to a lot of private sector organisations, for connections to offshore wind farms. We're talking to private sector organisations on the island as well. And the easy way to answer this, if anybody has a better commercial proposition that can keep that price low for our customers, we're all open ears. So far, and we've had a lot of conversations, there is nothing that can touch this economically. If anybody comes along, all open ears. I'll be your top salesperson.
And how much deforestation will be needed for the construction of the site of the wind farm, and how many habitats will be destroyed in the process? And I appreciate that the EIA is going on, so that's a bit of a difficult one, but is there a point where we're at risk of really destroying a biosphere and a habitat whilst attempting to save it?
So, great question. I think the whole purpose and the reason we're putting so much time and effort into this whole EIA programme, appointing many specialists as possible to look at all the key areas of ecology, and botanics and stuff. So they will be there to answer any questions. You're right, they haven't completed it yet, but what we've been advised so far is that there's no real showstoppers there, and there are suitable mitigations to make sure that the biodiversity is retained. So I can't answer any specifics, but I will make sure that people will be present at these events to answer any questions like that.